Hey guys, here we are with my official prediction video for the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Now, while most boxing fans probably aren't super interested in watching this, I am. I'm pretty excited. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen, how the fight's going to play out, and while I don't have the most hope for McGregor winning the fight, I think it's going to be a really interesting fight. So the first few things I want to talk about real quick is my analysis. So here I've got some video playing of Conor McGregor sparring Paulie Malignaggi, and I want to talk about a few things. Number one, look at Paulie Malignaggi's body. Does he look fit? You know, does he look in shape? Does he look ready to go 12 rounds in a fight? You know, like a champion at a championship level? You know, not really, right? And we see him in the second sparring session. I think this is the first one, because he's wearing his shirt. And I think in the second one, he's not wearing a shirt, but you can see in that video that he looks, you know, kind of chubby. You know, like not chubby like, you know, like for a regular person, right? But chubby for an athlete. And he was retired. He hadn't been fighting for, I don't know, maybe 5 months. You know, gained a little bit of weight. And if you're not throwing punches, you're not training, you're not sharp, you know, he's going to get destroyed, right? Now, I want to talk, I'm going to talk about all these caveats and the negative stuff first. I'm going to finish that up, and then we'll talk about the positives for McGregor. But I just so that there's no junk science out there like, oh, Conor McGregor kicked this guy's butt, you know, so that means he's got a good chance against Mayweather, right? Number one, Paulie Malignaggi's not in shape. We can see that. There's him without a shirt on. He's not in shape. We can see that. He's never been like the greatest fighter, right? No power, really. Although that left hook right there looked like it might have some power on it. Defensively, he's not usually been that great of a fighter. We've seen him. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say about it being out of shape? I mean, there's so much that can go wrong with being out of shape, right? And like a lot of times, usually when a fighter is out of shape, they get stopped. You know, if you see like in like really high level fights, like in the 90s, you know, that was like, it was really weird. Like there was this huge, you know, oh, he's not in shape, he's gassing out, he's doing this, you know, and that was like a big problem for a lot of fighters before, you know, now I don't want to say weight training, before like conditioning got really big. You know, like you go to any boxing gym and all they would talk about, you know, was, oh, conditioning's the number one thing. Conditioning this, you got to train your legs, you got to do this, road work, you know, all this like crazy shit. You know, but most athletes don't have that problem anymore. But also you saw, you know, a lot of fighters that got stopped, you know, as they slowed down. You know, they couldn't defend themselves. Is the guy's name Amir Imam? That the guy that was gassing out? I think he was like an undefeated prospect. I think even Paulie Malignaggi mentioned him as being the hardest puncher he's ever sparred with or fought. And that guy fights at 147 pounds. So what I kind of want to talk about is Paulie Malignaggi is a 147-pound fighter, right? Maybe, right? Probably 140, right? Although he probably doesn't want to train to get down to 140. So we'll just say 147. That's fine. Fighting, and he's been knocked out, you know, a few times. You know, he got stopped by Khan. He got stopped, I think, in his last fight by some nobody. You know, I don't follow his career like all that much. He put up a great fight against Adrian Broner somehow. Some people even thought that he won that fight. I think that was only because Adrian Broner was so inactive, not necessarily because he was beating Adrian Broner, but he was. I don't know. It's weird. But there were definitely some rounds where you're just like, okay, he's definitely scoring more than him. But that's neither here nor there. But my point is in fighting shape, in 100% fighting shape, trained for a world champion fighter where he had beef, right? He had fucking beef with Adrian Broner. He wanted to win that fight. If he could have knocked that guy out, if he could have done, he thought he won that fight too, right? And it's hard to say, like, oh, is Adrian Broner a better fighter than Conor McGregor, right? Is that what we're saying here? I'm not sure. If we saw, I still haven't seen that goddamn Mikey Garcia fight. I'm super excited. I really want to see it. But I definitely think that while McGregor is not as big of a, while McGregor is not necessarily a boxer, right? He has a boxing background in spite of what most people think about him in combat sports. He started boxing when he was like 12 or something. I do think he's a better fighter than Adrian Broner. He's probably not faster. Probably doesn't hit as hard. He's probably not as sharp. But his actual skills, right? Because those are his tools, right? If we have to delineate between the two, right? You can't just say, oh, his skill is that he's fast, right? That's stupid. His skill is that he's powerful. He hits hard. No, that's not how boxing works. Skills are the way that you apply your physical prowess against your opponent. And while McGregor doesn't appear to have like the greatest physical prowess, he definitely has the ability to set up his punches. And we're going to talk more about McGregor's skills later. But the point that I'm trying to make is that McGregor is fighting at 154 pounds, right? He last fought at 170, I think, in the UFC. Was it 170 or 155 that he won the title against Alvarez? 155, I think. But he's fought as heavy as 170. And they're fighting at a 154-pound limit. And Paulie Malignaggi, chubby, out of shape, gassed out the last 2 rounds, not ready for a fight, just comes in, supposedly right off of a plane ride into town. He's able to go 12 rounds with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, who's training to fight and who's been in shape. He's been in shape to fight, not taking any time off because he's been trying to negotiate this fight, because he's been serious about it. Been in nearly fighting shape probably, for a year. Wasn't able to stop Paulie Malignaggi in camp. That looks like a fine knockdown, right? Not really. Like you can see when when that little scene comes up, I'll break it down a little bit right here. So he shoots this left hand, right? And then he controls his head, right? See his glove is on top of his head. And he throws another punch. He's holding his head down. And what Paulie Malignaggi is trying to do, he's trying to get under the shot in a roll, but as he's going down, McGregor is pushing his head down, and it throws him off balance, and Paulie Malignaggi goes down, right? There is a punch in there, too. It starts off with a punch, but it's because he's off balance, right? So even though McGregor is landing some great punches in here, and you can see them, fucking huge-ass punches, Paulie Malignaggi has been stopped before at 147. He's been stopped at that weight. But McGregor fighting at 154 wasn't able to stop him. Wasn't able to stop a chubby, out of shape Paulie Malignaggi. So that has to say, you have to think about that when you're analyzing how he's going to be able to take out Mayweather, right? Paulie Malignaggi is not a glass chin fighter by any means, but he's been stopped before. He's been stopped a few times, and I don't know all the fighters that have done it. That's not super important, but the point is at 154 pounds, Conor hasn't shown the kind of power that could stop a 147-pound fighter, And even though Paulie Malignaggi is out of weight and he might weigh 160 in this video, that doesn't mean that he's a 160-pound fighter, right? That doesn't mean he's going to be able to take punches from a middleweight just because he weighs 160 pounds. When he's in shape, he doesn't weigh that. But giving credit where credit is due, it does look like Conor McGregor is putting it on him in these rounds. And one thing I do want to talk about, I don't think Mayweather has ever fought anyone who understood combat sports like McGregor does. Pacquiao, very good fighter. Juan Manuel Marquez, very good fighter. Shane Mosley, pretty good fighter. But he's never fought anyone. Like usually people's their strategy, like they all point to the Jose Luis Castillo one, right? Where they're trying to crowd him and, like Maidana, right? Maidana, very good fighter. Crowded him and had success because he's, people say it was because he was awkward. That's because they don't know shit about boxing. But it's because he had good probes. He had, he had good timing. Maidana is a much better fighter than he gets credit for and that he will ever get credit for. But that's also something that McGregor does really well, is using probes. And you can see them in these videos where he's probing with the lead hand, right? And gets Paulie Malignaggi to reach out and then catches him with the straight left. But even more impressive after that is the fact that he's able to control him after that second shot, right? And then take an angle on him to trap him in the corner, right? And that's the side of the ring that Mayweather's going to try to escape from. It's always the one that he tries to escape from. Except for the Manny Pacquiao fight, he would go out the other side. So we'll have to see if that plays a part in it. Mayweather doesn't use the shoulder roll against southpaw fighters. He usually kind of stands straight up, and I think that won't bode well for him if McGregor is able to get away with using his probes. Was McGregor in a conventional stance right there? Interesting. I wonder why he's doing that. But anyway, McGregor definitely has some boxing skills, but not being able to knock out a 147-pound fighter, I think, kind of shows that while he might have power, he doesn't have the kind of power that he's going to need to be able to stop a professional boxer, because professional boxers have been learning how to take punches, all their lives, rolling with shots and, rolling with them. And, Paulie doesn't do the greatest job of that during the course of these videos, but especially in that one, man, that last one. But there's no reason that a 154-pound fighter shouldn't have been able to stop a chubby 147-pound fighter, a guy who's out of shape and can barely defend himself. There's no reason for that. But anyway, one thing that I do like about McGregor is the fact that after he throws his shots, and you can see it right here, boom, he moves off the line, and he changes angles. And that's something that I don't think that Floyd Mayweather has really seen in his professional career. Usually people are chasing him. And in these clips, you can see that McGregor is chasing him too, but he's still smart enough and cognizant enough to move off the line. Like as you can see in this clip, even though he's on his head, right? He shoots down, boom, moves that, and then he's still pivoting out and moving around Paulie Malignaggi. And that's going to serve him really well against Mayweather, changing the angles and not being on the line with Mayweather, where Mayweather truly excels as a fighter, is getting the fighters to follow him and sit on the line with him and land punches. So I do think that McGregor is going to have some success. He's going to be able to use his probes really well. And another thing that McGregor does really well, and I'm not sure if it shows it in this sparring video. No, it doesn't look like it's going to be in this video. But he controls his opponent really well, like when he's on the inside. There's a video where Paulie tries to throw a punch on the inside, and instead of wrapping his arm around Paulie's body and then trying to clinch him, he very intelligently moves his arm up around Paulie's shoulder so he can hold onto his arm and pin it to his body so he can't punch on the inside. So McGregor understands a lot about combat. While he might not be the most traditional boxer, I definitely think that he knows enough about the sport to make the fight at least interesting for a little while. Now talking about Mayweather and Mayweather's advantages, obviously he's been boxing his whole life. After the weigh-in, oh god, the weigh-in, what the fuck, dude? McGregor, why did you look like a little kid? Like, did you guys see how tiny his body was? And it's really alarming because McGregor, he's supposed to be the taller fighter. Mayweather had his heels on, for the face-off, so they looked around the same size. But Mayweather was just so much bulkier than McGregor. How big is McGregor going to look on fight night? I know, like, Tyron Woodley, there was talk about how Tyron Woodley, and I know you guys are not MMA fans, but Tyron Woodley isn't one of the most in-shape fighters in the UFC roster. Like, the guy's just a freak, in shape, like, ripped. And he looks tiny on the weigh-in days. And I remember there was someone talking about how they were going to fight him, and they're like, oh man, this Tyron, he's fucking tiny, And then on the fight day, he had, like, tripled in size because he was able to cut weight so well. And I do think that mixed martial arts fighters probably cut more weight on average than boxers do. I think they're probably better at it. So maybe that's going to be the case with McGregor. Maybe he's going to be like twice the size he is on fight night, whereas Mayweather didn't look like he had to cut a pound, right? He's probably going to only be that big on fight night. And Mayweather is very famous for that, not really cutting weight, but coming in, just having a contractual weight for his opponents, not necessarily for himself. But it makes me wonder, if there's any truth to what Paulie Malignaggi was saying about Conor McGregor, wincing and whining when he gets hit to the body, because his body is so tiny. His abs weren't super defined. He didn't look like really strong. He looked like he has like great body mechanics, especially if you watch him. He's got like great technique, great. Those in that regard, his tools are very good. Very above average. The way that he's able to transition his weight and get his weight into his punches, but he's just not super fast, and I just don't think he hits hard enough for this sport. But back to the Mayweather thing, we do know that Mayweather likes to start off going to the body, and that might pose a huge problem for McGregor, and not just McGregor, but the entertainment of the fight if Mayweather starts going to the body early and McGregor's not able to take the punches. So whether or not, and I obviously McGregor's, from all the sparring videos, McGregor's not super hard to hit. I don't think that that's going to be the problem. A lot of people point to Mayweather being too fast and being this and being that. McGregor's not hard to hit. I don't think that's going to be the linchpin of the fight, is whether Mayweather is able to score on him or not. I think it's more in line with whether McGregor is going to be able to score on Mayweather or not. Is going to be the defining trait of the fight. If McGregor can land punches, the fight will be not only entertaining, but might wind up being, I don't want to say close. I guess entertaining is the only word you can really go with. But Mayweather, obviously he's going to be faster, he's going to be sharper, and I have to say that I also think he's going to hit harder. I don't think that McGregor has probably fought anyone who could hit as hard as Mayweather, or like real professional fighters, because it is just different. When you don't have to worry about getting kicked in the head, you're able to really lean into your shots much more, and that's not a luxury that mixed martial arts fighters have. But again, that also gives McGregor, that's why McGregor is so good at actual fighting, is because he does have to worry about those things. He does have to set his shots up better when he's fighting in the mixed martial arts. He does have to be able to move off the line as for his defense. He does have to control his opponents. So he's got a leg up in that regard. Not against Mayweather, but against your casual boxer. Which McGregor would probably do very well from, very very well against. So, getting down to my prediction of how I think the fight is going to go, McGregor is going to have some success, I think. I do think he's going to land a couple of left hands. I hope, for his sake, that he starts going to the body and he's able to, maybe throw some wide punches to the body. Not as wide as Pacquiao, but, oh, God, Pacquiao was faster and hit harder, and he couldn't land to the body either. So will McGregor have a shot? I'm not sure. McGregor's much bigger than Pacquiao, so maybe that'll give him the opportunity. But I definitely don't think that McGregor should start the fight off headhunting. I think he should start off to the body, and to keep Mayweather from ducking down below the waist. And moving to McGregor's left, I think is going to be where he wants to go, because Mayweather is so good at dipping out to his own right. But then again, Mayweather also does really well dipping out to his own left. So it's going to be difficult. McGregor's definitely going to have to set some traps for the movement and the defense of Mayweather. And because Mayweather doesn't also... Oh, man. McGregor's going to have to do a lot of work. This fight is going to be so much... Whether he wins or not, this fight is going to be so much harder for him than it could ever possibly be for Mayweather. He's going to have to think so much harder. He's going to have to, everything that he does is going to be so much more difficult for him than Mayweather does, than what Mayweather is going to be doing. As far as how I feel like the flow of the fight is going to go, I think that McGregor might have some success early, but I do think that the body shots are going to kind of accumulate on McGregor. And I'm not sure how his defense is going to hold up. You know, he's not hard to hit. He kind of has a wide stance sometimes, so I think it'll be easy for him to be tagged to the body. Not a wide stance, but his arms aren't like close in. You know, his elbows aren't kind of tucked. And I think it's going to cause him to be hit to the body a little more. And if there's any credence to what Malignaggi said about him not liking body shots, the fight might wind up being, stopped much earlier than even Mayweather intends to. And I do think that there's a very, very high likelihood that Mayweather is able to stop Conor McGregor early in the fight, maybe even hurt him early to the body, and then kind of take some rounds off to kind of give the fans a show. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that happens. But that's only going to serve to help McGregor be in the fight, to give McGregor the opportunities to kind of figure some things out about Mayweather, because I don't think that Mayweather is going to try to stop the fight early. I don't think he's going to try and do that. I do think that he'll kind of, have Pacquiao remorse, and try to give the fans a fight, kind of fight how he fought like he did against Berto. Try to make it a little more exciting and throw more punches and stuff. But overall, at the end of the fight, at the end of the night, I think that not only is Mayweather going to have his hand raised, in spite of the fact that I do think that McGregor is going to land a couple good left hands, I don't think that McGregor is going to have the power to put him down, and I do think that Mayweather is probably going to stop McGregor, as early. I think he could do it as early as the third round if he wanted to, but I think maybe around the 6th or the 7th round, I think he might really put it on him. He might let him go 10 like he did Ricky Hatton. Who knows, But anyway, as far as the undercards go, fuck you, Gervonta Davis. You motherfucker. What's your problem, dude? How you not going to make weight for this fight? Lose your goddamn title, man. What are you going to do? Are you going to move up and fight Mikey Garcia? Come on. Just so disappointing. He has such like a promising career, Obviously, he's growing. He's still young. Maybe 130 is just not his weight class. But he can't move up and expect to be as protected as he is at 130 when one of the only fighters that there's, I think it's 130, isn't it? Man, I feel like I got to check now. But he's not going to get away from being protected from every fighter in every weight class. People have already kind of given him a pass for fighting Lomachenko at, whatever weight he was fighting at right now. I do think it's 130. And that means he's not going to have to fight Gary Russell Jr., which would be a great fucking fight, man. I'd love to see that shit. That'd be an awesome fight. But moving up to 135, he could definitely have some success fighting fighters like Jorge Linares, or maybe get like a bullshit fight against Adam Carolla and then move on to Jorge Linares, or all those other fighters that are avoiding Mikey Garcia. He could have a pretty good fight against any of those guys. But is he going to get away with ducking Mikey Garcia too? Or is this also a strategy for moving up? Or is it okay because Mikey Garcia is moving out of the weight class? I don't know. It's just a little disappointing because I do think that he's on his way to being a very, very, very good fighter. And just losing your title on the scales like this, like pulling an Adrian Broner, showing that you're not taking any of it seriously. You're kind of fighting like, I don't even know who he's fighting, but I was really looking forward to the fight. Anyway, my prediction is Mayweather by knockout. I know I made those videos. I do think that McGregor is going to make a good showing. I just don't think that I don't think he has a chance to win the fight, really. And I think that Mayweather's he's just too good. But it will be interesting, and if McGregor does wind up you know, landing some great shots or, you know, God forbid, knocking Mayweather down or out, I will risk getting my channel banned from YouTube again and doing a fight breakdown of the fight. I'd be so goddamn excited about it. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. If anybody's even interested in watching that, you know, I don't even know. A few people watched those videos that I made before they got taken down by Showtime. You guys can go fuck yourselves. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys.